we have the motion is that this House will require political candidates to pass a political competency test in order to run for office. And ladies and gentlemen, we also have the status quo in this case is that the political nihilism and the real democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, we can say that real democracy cause the bad effect is that the monopoly of law and responsibility leader and so on. And ladies and gentlemen, we can do a rebuttal because we do a rebuttal as the leader of opposition to the Prime Minister that they say that they will have the political competency test as the requirement to measure whether the political candidates are capable enough or no to run the administration and to run the society. Well, we agree with the bad effect of foreign democracy because of the political candidates, but we disagree to make them have political competency tests as the only and the main requirement to run the office and run the society. And ladies and gentlemen, before we talk about this motion 2-4, then let's build a limitation. Is that first, this test will be theoretical test and also the direct action test with layers. Within 5 years of political period of the candidates, if they are selected, we have 1 week of selection test of this political competency test, ladies and gentlemen. And then we can choose and we can build a limitation too that we can apply this test in Indonesia, in our country. And of course, the political candidates, in this case, we can build a limitation also that they who join and they who need to apply this test is the leader of the region, such as region and president, because they are the executive side of the government and they are the closest party to the society. And ladies and gentlemen, let's move to our arguments. Why we disagree with the Prime Minister arguments about placing the political competency test as the requirement for the political candidates. First, we agree and we already decide to think that political competency test is not a good solution. Then why we can say that it's not a good solution, ladies and gentlemen? Well, if we place the political test as the examination, then if the school's examination can be cheated, can be manipulated, then what about this test, about this important political competency test? Then it will also can be manipulated. If we do it in system, then the system will be hacked, the system will be manipulated, and also the people behind the test, the people who manage the test can be manipulated too with money. Ladies and gentlemen, we both know that political these days are about money. That's the bad side of the political views that we have in recent days. Ladies and gentlemen, it can be manipulated, but we won't say that we just disagree, but we offer and we have the better solution instead of placing the political competency test as the requirement to the candidates. Because here we have to place the older solution, the better solution, is that we have to explore the political candidates track. But who can do that? Of course, the exploration can be done by the Court of Justice, because they are the one who have the full authority to do so. In Indonesia, the Court of Justice have the method, have the authority and capability to choose and select the president and the candidates also. And ladies and gentlemen, to explore the first, we need to know the candidate's previous action and policy. Of course, if we want to choose the leader of region, we want to choose the president, then of course he already passed the previous stage of the things that they passed as the president and the region and so on, ladies and gentlemen. So we need to take a look on what he did, what policy did he make and so on. Is that bad? Is that giving a good impact to society? Is it pro for the society? And so on. And ladies and gentlemen, we also need to know about his character, about the candidate's character, whether is he well calculated on making decisions, and is he become the political puppet, and also is he capable to do and to run the society. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to know about this, because being political puppets of some party becomes a bad and serious thing for our country, because it also can ruin our democracy. And then we need to track their academic tracks. If they have good academic tracks, we can think that they will be good and capable leader, can be good capable candidates. And if they have bad tracks of academic, that means that they are not good enough, that they are not capable enough to run the society, because they have not, they don't have the basic things that teach in academic things, in academics side of life. And then we need to know, do they have bad criminal tracks or no? Because we cannot choose the corrupter, we cannot choose the criminals to be our leader then. So we need to take a look well on what his life back then before we do the screening process. This is very important to have, because we won't choose the wrong candidates to be our leader, right? So that's why we need to take a look, we need to explore we need to take a look and we need to explore the candidate's track before he became our leader, he selected to be our candidate, our leader. And second, we have the reason that the political competency test doesn't actually measure the candidate's capability and competency. Ladies and gentlemen, if we place the test just in case, just a test, then maybe and perhaps that they're not in good condition of body, because the failed student also, they can fail the test because they are in a bad condition and so on, and that also can be a factor that we can think about in this political competency test. And also, there are some things that we cannot do on their test, such as unexpected urgent decision, ladies and gentlemen. As a leader, of course, both of them will face the urgent things, and they need to find the best solution in the fastest time. And we cannot do that in the test, because we cannot create the real situation and atmosphere where they can do that. And of course, we cannot see that the political competency test can be the best solution for this, because they cannot face the real things of life. Ladies and gentlemen, both of the reasons, the two big reasons, are the main thing why I say that we disagree to place political competency test as a requirement to the candidates. So that's from me, that's all, and thank you very much.